greet each other every time we say hey.
Hello, lovely
Hello
Lou
to you.
and everybody out there.
I'm Lou, and this is Heidi. We're your hosts for today, and we are going to be talking about, loosely, empaths.
Empath.
Empaths. And that's not the actual subject that we've got written down on our notes. The actual subject is, what does it say?
It says, we're off to a great start. Empaths. Other feelings are not an excuse. Protect yourself and set boundaries. Don't be pathetic. You're not an empath if you just feel shit, babe.
Which is so true, because when we talk about empaths, I think I should sort of clarify it. Like, so you've got your highly sensitive people, and you've got your empaths who literally feel what other people are feeling. They can pick up on it. They actually respond to it. If somebody else is upset, they find themselves exhibiting, and you're actually going through it with the person as if it were you. There's a mammoth connection there that is, I mean, I'm not an empath. I'm HSP for sure, but there are a lot of people out there who are empaths, but now the word is bandied around all the time, and it's like it's overused and diluted. It's the meaning is becoming lost, and I think that's kind of where we're going to go on a rant today.
Well, I think so, and I think people are also using it as an excuse to behave poorly.
That too.
It's not my energy, it's your energy. You came in here with this attitude, and now, and it's like, no, that is not what being an empath is. Just because you can feel or pick up on other energy does not give you an excuse to be a dick. It doesn't give you an excuse to come at somebody with attitude, right? You have to have boundaries, not just when we talk about boundaries. You think a lot of times of these psychological boundaries, like this is what I'm willing to accept and this is what I'm not willing to accept. Same with energy. You have to have your energetic boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the problem is that the word empath, obviously stemming from empathic or empathetic, as some of us say, is that, all, I wouldn't say all, obviously I'm not talking about serial killers, but most people, the majority of people can be empathic or empathetic. They, and it's obviously closely linked to the sympathy side of things as well. But because of the fact that you can be empathic towards somebody doesn't mean that you are an empath. And then to say, as you're saying, I'm just gonna show up and then blame everything on you because I'm an empath, or I'm gonna feel sorry for myself because I'm picking up on everything else, is utter bollocks. And you're right, and you're saying that the responsibility is on you yourself. I think firstly to actually really take a good hard look at yourself and go, am I a fucking empath, or am I just somebody who is very empathic towards people, right? Which sounds like, it sounds weird, doesn't it? Because I always think this about depression. There's a difference between being depressed and having depression. Like,
being depressed is like a short period of time. Like, this really rocked my world, I'm feeling depressed about it, right? Heartbreak, breakup, loss of a loved one, death, you can feel depressed, but having clinical depression is something different. And it's exactly what you're saying with being an empath and having empathy.
Yeah. And I don't know, and I don't know why people find it so hard to fucking like differentiate between those two things. Like I exhibit a lot of empathy towards everybody, of course I do. Like, that's who I am, but I am not an empath. I don't find myself in that situation, and it's taken me a long time to get to the point where I don't carry other people's shit with me, because there is a burden that comes with being an empath, or being, having high levels of empathy. There is a burden that comes with that if you're not protecting your own energy. So you end up like, carrying around the weight of other people's sorrow or anger, or whatever it may be. It's always the negative ones. I mean, you can obviously feed off of any sort of the positive ones as well, I wouldn't recommend doing that, because, you know, let's not be fucking vampires, people. But yeah, it's a case of like protecting your own energy and having the boundaries within your own energy, in your energetic body, not just in the physical realm, but in the energetic realm, to put those boundaries in place and to protect yourself from carrying the burden of other people's shit.
100%. And I know this especially for those of you getting to know me. I'm a mom of 2, and as a mom, I have to take my time, not just to protect my energy, but I also, when I notice when things are off, because you'll feel off. You're like, this isn't mine, but I'm feeling it. Like it just won't feel like yours. And I realize that there's been times where I'm starting to get amped up or act out in a certain way, and I'm like, oh, that's my toddler's temper tantrum. You know, so it's, even when you set those energetic boundaries, it now becomes about holding them as well, because things will come at you. And if you can begin to recognize what is yours and what is not, what you will accept, what you won't accept, you can start to say, pause and say, this isn't mine. I do not want it, just like with somebody's behavior, and put a stop to it.
Absolutely. And I think it's really important to start to, as you say, to begin to notice the difference between what belongs to you and what belongs to somebody else, which is really, really, really easy sometimes. And other times it's like you're walking around completely oblivious to it. I mean, my neighbor is a great example. I always whinge about my neighbor. He is really aggressively loud, and he is like, he's in his 50s. And I'm not saying I'm aggressively loud, like, come on, let's be fair. But
he's like us.
He's in his 50s and he lives with his elderly mum's carer. But he complains to her all the time, and he sounds like a teenager. He's always like, Mum, and I can hear it through the wall. And I used to get, and I still do sometimes now, so aggravated, upset, angry, frustrated, partly because it's intrusive noise that I don't want in my world. You know, I like peace and quiet. I used to do a thing called Silent Saturdays, where it was, you know, absolutely no screens, no noise, nothing. And I would just walk around silently. You know, I might meditate, read, that kind of thing. And it was glorious, apart from coming through the wall. So I would get like more and more frustrated with it, to the point where it was having a really negative effect on me, like a really detrimental effect on me on a, not necessarily a daily basis, but certainly a weekly basis. And then one day I was sitting where I am now at my desk. This is my office. The kitchen is my office. And
it was me. I have chips behind me. Want a snack?
Yeah, please. And yeah, and then I could just hear it, and then I just sort of big deep breath, and I was like, this doesn't belong to me. This isn't mine, you know. And I really had to physically shift it out of myself, you know. So I got up and I was doing a bit of Shakti dancing and doing all my lovely things that I do to raise my frequency, because sometimes that's the other thing, is it's not just about protecting your energy, like acknowledging it and then doing something about it. Sometimes it's about combating it and kind of like fighting it off with your own energy, and hoping that some of it will seep in and affect them, so they chill the fuck out.
Take it back. Well, that's the same over here. Like, and people are surprised. So I used to run a home daycare, and people are surprised that I can meditate in like the screams and the noises of children, because I just got so desensitized to it that I can find my zen within that. And when it comes to picking up on all of that chaotic energy or picking up on somebody's negativity, sometimes in order to express it and get it out and put that boundary back in place, you need to do something physical, right? Go for a run, go for a walk, work out. Also screaming into the motherfucking void. Like, that's all I do. Sometimes I just have to go out into like the middle of nowhere and just belt it all out in order to move it through.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I do that as well. It's sometimes, I think that realistically, when you're already kind of akin to this way of thinking and this way of behaving and knowing yourself on that kind of like soul level and everything else, you know, in the moment, you can feel, you can sense in the moment what it is that you need to do. Certainly for me, I know when, as soon as my body starts to feel tense, a lot of people would say that's when you need to relax. Not for me. That's when I have to take that and use it and use the energy from it. So I have to do like physical exercise, basically, dance around, or you know, I do like Shakti dancing, I do like mixed martial arts workouts and stuff like that, and I love it because that's how I feel. I want to embrace the feeling as it is, and embody it and make it safe and okay for me to feel like that, but at the same time disperse it, you know, because I'm not
100%.
one to go and then relax into something. I'm not particularly relaxed as a person anyway. Like I relax at weird situations, but yeah, so I think there's a lot to be said there, but it's only through knowing myself, my triggers, and my own energy and my own body and my own, you know, spirit and soul and whatnot, that I can actively combat it if I haven't, or if I've chosen to ignore the trigger. Because sometimes you just go, well, it's fine, I'll just get on with it and do what you've got to do, and you're shooting yourself in the foot there, aren't you? I think it's
well, and yeah, and I think for me, the reason this came up for me and why we have this on here is we had all of those memes come out recently on Facebook being like, oh, you set the tone. I'm not, you know, this is up to you. I'm an empath. So how you come in with this dark energy, and I'm going to be dark too. And it's those memes, like I love social media for so many things, but for perpetuating stuff like this, it just frustrates me, because there's a bunch of people out there who will look at these and they will believe that, and they will be like, well, I'm an empath, ergo you set the tone. If you come in here with your attitude, that gives me an excuse to be a dick. And there's really no excuse to be a dick, is there?
No, absolutely. I think, well, unless somebody's being a dick to you and you want to be a dick back, sometimes it's cultural, but
you know what I mean. You know what I
do
mean.
know what you mean. But I think, yeah, what you're saying is right. And I think, like, you know, I've got the thing that I say, like, if you meet an arsehole in a day, you've met an arsehole. If you meet two arseholes, you've met two arseholes. If you meet arseholes all day, you're the arsehole. So it's really about taking responsibility. There's a lot of, in terms of, you know, like what I do with my clients and stuff as well. There are people out there that think when I speak about being unapologetically yourself, they think that I mean you have got an excuse for your toxic behavior. No, not at all. Self-acceptance comes from owning the parts of yourself that are either toxic or just unpleasant or whatever it is, and not making excuses for them, but actively taking them into consideration and working on them so that they don't have a detrimental effect on you and other people. That's self-acceptance, not saying, oh, well, you know, I've just got an anger problem, so that's just me. Fuck off. That's not it at all. So when people are perpetuating the attitude towards that, they're blameless for everything, it's all external, it's actually the complete fucking opposite of what it is that we're trying to do here. Everything is about looking within, not fucking making external world reality.
And that's why you have empathy, and that's why you have empath, is because it gives you that opportunity to say, look within, so you can honestly and authentically connect to another human from a place of understanding or curiosity and love.
Yeah. That's the whole point of it, and that's why it's so idiotic that these attitudes and these memes and stuff, somebody somewhere missed the fucking point by at least a mile and then decided to write something snappy about it, and everyone went, yeah, because it gives them a shithole excuse themselves to be a prick. And so they think that it's okay to go around paving like that, saying I'm blameless because you're the one setting the tone. I mean, you know, it's not. It's your responsibility. Every single Listen, right. There's a difference here between something being your fault and something being your responsibility. So the way that I see it is the bad shit that's happened to you is not your fault. However, it's your responsibility to heal from it.
100% agree.
Yeah, so only you can do your own inner work. You can't walk around pointing the finger outwards. You have to at some point look in the fucking mirror and
100%.
say, right, this is my turn. There's only one thing that I can do about this, and that is with myself. You can't control other people, and you can't keep blaming them for everything all the fucking time. Take charge yourself, look within, and start to do that inner work yourself. And then that inner work, as individualistic as people might see it, certainly somebody I know, I'll tell you about in a minute.
Ooh, story time.
Hey, we're gonna oh well, let's talk shit. Let's have a segment called "Let's Talk Shit." So certainly, yeah, when certain attitude towards the looking within, as if it's like selfish or self-indulgent or self-serving or whatever it may be, and actually isn't, because the more you connect within, the more you connect without. And like you were saying, especially when it comes to empathy, when you go in, you are then able to connect to another human being on that inner level with them. So it becomes about connection, it becomes about community. When you work on yourself that fully, and you really do that, and then you meet others who are also doing that, the connection is fucking pure, isn't it?
Yes. Now I'm going to interrupt because I'm going to play devil's advocate, because I know people are going to come at us with this. Don't at us. But they're going to be like, well, if somebody's being an asshole to me, do I have to be all love and light? No, you can be love, you can be light, you can also kick some fucking ass, and you can also stand up for yourself in a way that is authentic, that's true, and still not being a dick. You can tell somebody who is setting the tone, as it were. You can, one, reject that energy, and when it comes at you, you can say, I do not accept this. And two, there's nothing wrong with a little snark and a little holding boundaries, and people will see you as an asshole for that, and that is completely fine. But it is okay to say, don't like this energy, don't like this attitude, I'm not going to take it on. Now, does that mean you roll over and be like, oh, well, you're going to fuck off? No, it is okay to look at somebody and say, you know what? I don't like your attitude. I'm not going to be spoken to this way. Until you can like calm yourself down or find your zen, we ain't having this discussion.
Yep, absolutely. I think that goes for, I mean, there's several different like relationship dynamics in terms of like your actual romantic relationship, a relationship with siblings, with parents, with your children, in the workplace, in your business, with your clients. There's all these different ways in which you have to find what the right level for you. And as much as I am, I'm how I am the least confrontational person you will ever meet. I don't like confrontation. So when it comes to me protecting my energy, I just tend to go completely quiet. If somebody's coming at me, I'm just like, I stare at them blankly as if they're mental, because people find that really disconcerting. And I'm just like, and then I walk away, and they fucking hate it. So it's like, I haven't done anything. I haven't been horrible. I've not said anything, but I've certainly, for me, the silence is the loudest thing for me to do, because I'm a loud person. I think that the silence actually is more impactful for me when I'm setting my boundaries. And I don't mean sulking. I don't sulk. I don't go and sit in a mood. I just refuse to take it on. I center myself. What's going on in my head is none of your business right now. But all you're getting out of me is a picture of serenity. And I go, so I've acknowledged it. And then I walk away. And that's that. And I feel very comfortable with that. For me, it works for me. But again, when you're in different environments and different situations, it is a lot easier said than done. It does vary.
Yeah, I struggle with that. Because of the empath part to me, and that I do pick up on how other people are feeling. If somebody's coming at me, I can feel that rage starting to boil. So I actually, before I can walk away or respond, I need that pause moment where you'll see me physically take a step back. I'll take a breath. I will close my eyes, and I will, in my head, I'm just repeating the mantra, protect your peace, because that's what I need to do in that moment. And then I will open my eyes and respond to them. And it's generally something like, I cannot deal with this right now. I don't appreciate the way you're talking to me. I'm going to exit unless you wish to change your attitude.
Yeah. Yeah. I have done that with people before, where I've said, this isn't something I'm willing to discuss right now. So I've done that before, and that really causes a riot. And then I've had other times where I've walked away because the rage, I felt I want to fly over the fucking table at this person. So I've walked away and raged on my own in my journal with tears streaming. And you can see in my journal, I've like carved it into the pages, where I've just been so angry because I don't want to rise. I don't want, I feel like almost, I don't want to say disappointed, but it's like I've got to check myself there, because I'm allowing somebody else to do that to me, and that pisses me off. So then I'm adding my annoyance on myself as much as their annoyance on me. So I have to get out of the situation and then go and release that in whichever way I can. And I am a very tearful person. I cry like all the time. I love a good cry. And certainly anger and frustration, like that's when it happens the most. And the last thing I want for a person who is deliberately trying to upset me, the last thing I want them to see is that I'm
you upset. I'm the same way, which is why, but instead of journaling and carving their name into whatever, into my next book, I don't know, I will go out and to the backyard, and I will grab a ball, I will grab a toy, and I will just rage and scream and just whip that thing at the fence. And I think too, because this is kind of going to be a tangent, as women, we don't talk enough about this. How to deal with taking on other people's emotions and how to release them like that, because we deal with a lot of anger. And we're always told to be the good girl. And so having releases like carving names into journals, going out and screaming and throwing something at the fence is normal, okay, and healthy.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you there. I think like a lot of my friends get themselves so wound up, and they don't, it gets to the point where it boils over into them then taking it out on someone else rather than managing it for themselves and saying, no, I need to address this for me right now in a way that works for me. Everybody, we're told to stifle things. We're told, I think, as women, always, especially in the workplace, like, and in relationships, that we're overly emotional or overly sensitive and all this bollocks. And I just think, like, I feel like, again, another tangent here, the biggest trick that men ever pulled on us women was somehow removing arrogance and anger from the overly sensitive women, like overly sensitive thing, because that's in a workplace. Like a woman gets, I don't know, a bit passionate or gets a bit tearful, and you're like looked down upon. But men walk around raging all day, and they're telling you to stop being emotional. Well, anger's an emotion, mate, and you're the one who can't fucking seem to deal with yours right now because you're standing there shouting at me and then telling me I'm emotional because you've made me cry. So I just like, so yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's why there's a big surgence, I think, at the moment for women doing like rewilding and doing earthly grounding practices, and being in sisterhoods and in circles and women's circles and stuff like that, because it's a safe space for you to fucking rage. We're angry. There's a reason. There's several reasons. We've been angry. We've been fucking angry for generations. And we're always told to shush about it, keep quiet, put up with your lot, all be grateful for everything you've got, and don't. It's not mutually exclusive. I can be perfectly grateful and happy about everything, but that doesn't stop the fact that there is an anger in me, and my anger is mostly sparked by a sense of injustice. Like my injustice sensitivity is through the roof. So
100%.
whether it's against me or somebody else, the rage comes like thick and fast and fucking heavy. And I have been known in the past, before I started sorting myself out and doing the fucking work, to absolutely flip my fucking shit. I've been an absolute arsehole to people in the past because I couldn't contain what I thought I should contain. And now I know I don't have to contain it, but I don't need to give it to a person, you know.
It's healthy outlets.
That's exactly
healthy
it.
outlets.
Yeah.
100% agree with that. And I feel like, you know, if we're talking about empathy and women's rage and all of that, if you're in I'm going to go back to your workplace environment, because I really like that example. If you are an empath or you're highly empathetic in the workplace with a man who rages, then you are going to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Energy is genderless. Emotions, genderless. Happy, sad, angry, anything. If you don't start setting boundaries around that stuff and protecting yourself, then, you know, you're going to have, or even a female coworker, say, you know, she's been told to shut up and be a good girl, and now she's feeling rage, you're going to pick up on that. So it's all about learning what your boundaries are, what you're willing to accept, not accept, and setting them in place energetically, and setting them in place physically, setting them in place psychologically, and having your rage space.
Yeah, 100%. And I think like, I mean, as well, in terms of protection, like when I go out and we do go on like paranormal investigations and things like that, some of the places that I've been to, obviously I do my thing, being the witchy woo that I am. I set all my stuff up. I don't even need to. It's just there when I want it. Like, it's got to that point now. It's fine. But when we go to these things, there'll always be somebody saying, okay, well, you know, imagine your white light, you know, blah, 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 blah. And they will do a protection visualization for people that are there in order for them to protect themselves spiritually from any sort of negative energies that may or may not be present. And I think that there's a lot to be said for going through a ritual process like that as an individual, if regardless of whether you are somebody who believes in a beyond or not, the ritual act of doing that visualization and envisaging that light emanating from within, protecting around you, doing the breath work and everything else, it does actually have the effect of bringing you into that kind of space yourself inwardly where you are better equipped to handle it. So whether it's
100%,
whether you believe it to be a placebo or whether you believe it to be a real thing or not, like I do, is you know, by the by, really. Anyone who says it's a placebo, well, we know placebos work, so fucking just do it. Do you know what I mean? Just do it because it works.
Yeah, fucking do it because it works, right? And the beauty of that is because when you start ritualizing it like that, it becomes a habit, and then you're training your mind essentially. So again, whether you believe in the spiritual woo side or not, I'm on the woo side too. You're training your mind to handle certain situations, to handle how things are coming at you, to handle intense emotions from within and from without.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, it's really important to start to, every time you encounter one of these situations, it's important to really dig a bit deeper into why it triggered you in that way. It could be as simple as that person who's being a dick. I mean, it could be that simple, but sometimes, I mean, I'm triggered by all sorts of things that have various different reasons behind them. But one of the things I always laugh about is that my dad has this ability to turn me into like a teenager again. And I'm like, I can't, it just happens. And I think, why, Louise? It's because of my, there's some unresolved stuff there, and blah 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 blah. So I understand it now. It doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It just means that I don't respond. Let's say I don't react like I used to, and I'm able to respond in a way that is beneficial for me, as well as my dad, who, bless him, is oblivious to the fact that he's making me want to punch him and scream at him and run up the stairs and slam my bedroom door, like, even though that was 25 years ago.
And if, for the parents out there, you will perfectly understand this, because if you're sitting there going like, I don't understand that at all. How is she, this, he's making her feel like a teenager again, and I'm not connecting to that. If you are a parent at all, the greatest example of having something get to you and trigger you without really trying to figure out where it connects is when something happens to your kids. When something happens to your kids, if somebody is bullying your kids, they said something nice about your kids, if you don't go into that immediately, I'm a mama bear, I'm gonna fucking tear a 10-year-old to pieces, and I don't even care if they're a 10-year-old energy, then are you really parenting?
I've witnessed it happen to my friends, honestly, and the dramas, the playground dramas, that when I've had like 3 of my friends who are all parents, and 2 of them, their children are very good friends with each other, they're very similar ages, and then they're both talking about all this stuff that's going on at the school, and how so-and-so's leaving so-and-so out, and this one, oh, she was saying this, and this girl, and da 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 da, and I'm sitting there thinking, you sound like you belong on the playground. Like, what's happening here? And I'm trying to kind of say, like, yeah, but from an outside perspective, and they're like, shut up, Louise, what do you know? You've just got cats. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. It's not my place to get involved. But
that is like it. Yeah, that's a great example of when you're picking up on other people's energy, and and then you have to look at why you're triggered. I mean, were you bullied as a kid? Were you left out as a kid? Chances are you were left out once in a while. So you have that layer on top of it being your kid, and that innate need to protect. And then there's layers there that you need to start peeling back, right? That's why we talk about, when you're an empathetic person, when you're an empath, you need to look inward. And again, that doesn't mean that you're saying, I will accept everything. It's knowing your boundaries, but also knowing yourself.
Yeah, definitely. And then it's about finding ways in which you can put those boundaries in place. And I think for a lot of people, setting boundaries and holding boundaries is not easy. It's really not. There's so much going on beneath the surface for all of us. There's a fear there. There's a massive, one of my friends always says to me, there's just this fear of rejection she has. So she over explains. If she says no to something, she'll create a massive lie about why, if it's just something she doesn't want to do, she'll just make up a massive lie about why she can't do it. And I'm like, why don't you just say, no, I don't fancy it? I can't do that. Oh, they'll be on my case. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, that's their problem, not yours. No, I don't fancy it. You are allowed to do that. And she's like, oh, and it fills her with anxiety because she's trying to control how she's going to be responded to, which you can't control. You can script it to a degree. We can all manipulate people, come on girls, but you cannot decide for that person how they are going to feel when you say what you say. So when you put that boundary in place, and the ones, I always say this to everyone, the ones who kick up the most fucking fuss about it are the ones that need the boundaries the most. They need them in their lives. You're doing them a bloody favor. Why is it that you have to be beholden to them all of the time? You don't. You're allowed to have. And I always think to myself as well, when people say no to me, how do I feel? I'm like, oh, okay, no worries. So my assumption, since I've been, I don't want to say allowing other people their boundaries, but since I've been more accepting of other people's boundaries, no questions asked, my assumption is now that you're not going to have a problem with my boundaries, no questions asked. So the confidence in which I express my boundaries now, people just accept it because I'm acting as if they're going to accept it because I'm being perfectly reasonable. And it all works, doesn't it? It all works together.
It does.
It does. It sure do.
It does. It sure do. Well, the reason it does is because when you have that confidence to hold your boundaries, that is a confident energy you are putting out into the world. And who's picking up on that energy? The person or people you're talking to, right? Everybody.
Awesome. I love it. Oh, well, I feel like we've come to sort of natural conclusion there, really.
I think so.
With the
I think the conclusion is hold your fucking boundaries. Don't use other people as an excuse to be a dick. And find your rage outlet and love yourself. Even though we didn't even talk. Throw that one in there.
Throw that one in there. Just fucking love yourself, people. Come on.
No. All right. Well, I think that's it for this episode. Should we dance our way out?
Yeah, I feel like we should just say thank you. I can't get low enough. Yeah, thank you to everyone who's joined us today. Obviously we'll see you on the next one. Subscribe,
like, comment, share, subscribe,
all of that jazz. And yeah, if there's anything that you want to hear us talk about, or you want to get involved in the conversation at all, then whack a comment in the comments. And follow us on social media. Our links are in the description. Ta-ta!